Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. Welcome back to another edition of the Bush League Huddle Fantasy Football Podcast. My name is Fabio. I'm joined as always as with Rog and Nacc, and we're here to preview Week 13. Lucky number 13. It's going to have to be lucky number 13 for a lot of us here because right now, serious playoff implications are on the mend. We got some serious people that are looking at like 5-7. You know, 6-6, even 4-8. Like you're still in it. You're not out of it at all. And we're here to. It's true. Listen, hey man, there's
Eh, I don't.
uh
I'm done. I'm done.
no, no. There have been scenarios and people and teams that have made it to the fantasy football playoffs and also ran the table by squeaking in at the very last minute. So hope is not out with. I guarantee you. I'm one of those people. We've been through it before, where you squeak in at the very last minute, you make it all the way to the fantasy football playoff finals, and you're like, I'm not supposed to be here, but here I am. Because all you got to do is get into the big dance, and you never know what can happen.
You're
So
done.
yeah, that's true. But we're here all the same to preview some nice Week 13 love hates. Roger's always going to kick us off with the wonderful opening drive. Nacc is going to keep us, unfortunately, extremely honest this week with how we did last
Too
week in Week
honest.
12. With too honest. We might be able to skip over all that because it's not something that we need to revisit. But before we jump into all that, ladies and gentlemen, our loyal listeners, that's you guys listening and watching us on YouTube and all that other fun stuff. So please follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter for weekly fantasy breakdowns all season long. Send us your waivers, your sit star questions. Trade questions are done with, but thank you very much for everyone who sent us all your trade questions. That was really helpful. We really enjoy having those types of discussions amongst ourselves, and you guys sent us some doozies, so thank you for that. But send us everything else. I mean, we're here for you guys all season long. We got a few weeks left for the regular season. Then we kick it into high gear for the playoffs. We're gonna be here for you guys throughout this entire ride. So again, please follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. We're gonna be here all week, guys. Well, we're gonna pass it on to little Michigan man over here. Roger, you want to kick us off with the opening drive?
Yes, thank you, Fab. It is Michigan, Ohio State week. I'm looking forward to another Michigan victory. I think it'll be the fifth or sixth in a row against Ohio State. So
OH.
Not
I
Not
knew.
happening.
I know.
OH. IO.
Knew. So this week's opening drive, I'm going to give you 5 under the radar league winners, players who could actually win you the title. So we're going to jump straight into it. It's going to be a pointless countdown. We're going to start with number 5. So Chimere Dike. So Dike had a really good game against the Seahawks. He saw a 18.4% target share, and he led the Titans in routes run on Sunday against Seattle. He scored a receiving touchdown. He returned a TD last Sunday as well. So for those of you crazies who are in return yard leagues, that's really good to have. He's been a top 24 wide receiver in 3 of the 5 games he started. With Ridley out for the year and Elik Ayomanor still battling injury, I think DK could be in a really prime spot to help a lot of teams. Number 4, I have Jayden Higgins. So Higgins has been on fire with Davis Mills. In 3 starts with Mills, 23 targets, 13 receptions, 135 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I think he has a crazy, absurd 10 yards per route run. It's been absolutely targets per route run. Excuse me. It's been absolutely great run for him so far, and his production has increased every week. It'll continue to increase, I think, when CJ Stroud back, and he's been the clear wide receiver 2, going over the likes of Christian Kirk and even Jalen Noel. And number 3, we have Colston Loveland, 68% route participation in week 12, highest rate even with Cole Kmet, and he scored another touchdown as well. Obviously, we saw the great game he had against the Bengals. He looked really good chemistry with Caleb Williams against Pittsburgh. So I think he could be a tight end that you could absolutely win with and have some big games as well. Number 2, we have a defense. Hear me out. Saints defense. So in weeks 15 to 17, they have the Panthers, Jets, and Titans. They've done very well versus shaky offenses. 20 points versus the Giants in week 5, 14 points versus the Panthers in week 10, and even 13 points versus Atlanta in week 12. I think with that playoff schedule, they are worth starting. I started them in one league, and I was very happy. I was able to win, and it was a very key victory for me with them getting those 13 points. So I really like them as an underrated unit, and they've played quite well, and they've been very competitive in games this year. And at number 1, I actually have 2 players. So wide receiver 2s, taking over as the wide receiver 1. So I have Michael Wilson and Troy Franklin. For me, with Wilson, the talent was always there. He just needed the opportunity. 25 catches and 303 yards over the last 2 games. And who knows when Marvin Harrison Jr. will be back. Jonathan Gannon mentioned that MHJ will only be back when he's mentally and physically ready to perform after the emergency appendectomy. And in terms of Troy Franklin, since week 7, he's had a 27% target share compared to Sutton's 19%. And he's had 14 PPR points per game compared to Sutton's 10. In my opinion, Franklin has overtaken Courtland Sutton as the WR1 in Denver. And we know it's been talked about the chemistry that he has with Bo Nix. So I think both of these guys have surpassed the early season WR1s on the team. And I really think they could be key players down the stretch for your fantasy teams. Guys, I don't know what any other thoughts on any other players that you think could be under the radar stars for your fantasy teams. Another guy I was thinking of was Jawan Jennings as well. He looked really good yesterday or the day before. Was it? Yeah, yesterday on Monday Night Football against the Panthers. Any other guys that you could think of?
I think Devin Neal, he's more of a waiver wire pickup right now, but with Chimere being out, I think he's gonna be able to help some people, especially in the fantasy playoffs right now. Like, look at that usage and the way he's playing. That's one guy that you definitely want to get your hands on as much as possible. Could be someone that could help out in the stretch too.
Yeah, these guys are like fringe waivers. Some of them still available. Some of them are obviously in a lot of teams, but more so the under the radar guys, the guys that maybe you could still get in waivers, or maybe you're not sure still having them in your bench. I think a lot of these players can be started pretty much with confidence.
The last one actually, and everyone's been talking about this guy, Luther Burden. Like everyone's been talking about the usage, it's been wrapping up and this and that, and you haven't seen him pop off yet, but you do see how he's taken over that slot role in that offense, and they keep on comparing him to how like that role and what it did for Amon-Ra St. Brown with a Ben Johnson offense and all that stuff. Like, I mean, I'm pumping the brakes on that. I'm not expecting that to happen, but I think it's still worth consideration if you have a roster spot, because again, we've seen a lot of rookie wide receivers blow up in the second half of the season. It's not uncommon. This could be one of those takes again, right? So just keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, I mean, I have 2 rookies in this list, so I love that one.
Yeah, and I also have, honestly, Kenneth Gainwell. The last 2 games in the passing game as well, he's seen 14 targets over the last 2 weeks. Again, against Cincinnati, yes, Warren was injured, but still came back with 6 for 6 for 30 and then 10 for 92 on the ground as well. And that's 50 fantasy points in the last 2 weeks combined. So kind of a sneaky one with Buffalo coming up on the weekend, really shaky run defense. And even Baltimore hasn't been that great against the run, and Miami as well. So those are the next 3 weeks. So I figure him to be involved a lot more in the offense.
Love those. Those are all great calls. So that's the week 13 opening drive. A few throw-ins that could win your title, and hopefully the fact that they're under the radar, you might still able to get them. Nacc, we'll move on to love-hate, who we loving, who we hating, who's winning or losing people in their week 13.
Yes, thank you, Rog. As always, great opening drive. So before we do jump into our week 13 love-hate selections, let's just take a little moment. I stress that very much, little moment to look back at our week 12 picks, how they actually panned out. Holding ourselves accountable is always what keeps our calls honest and sharpened. So quick recap to see what we nailed and we missed. Unfortunately, this was the Bush League Huddle, worst week in our love-hate segments. We went collectively 3-12, pushing our season to 80, 92, and 2. Fab, a little bit of a tough week here. Missed out on the Montgomery love, Breece Hall love, and AJ Barner love, as well as the hates for Kareem Hunt and Ashton Genty.
Listen, I think there was something wrong in post-production, because I had Kareem Hunt and Ashton Genty as loves, actually, and David Montgomery and Breece Hall as hates. So technically, I should be 2 and 3, but it's fine. We'll figure it out for this week. It's okay, guys. We all make mistakes.
I actually thought you were serious for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am serious. Of course, I am. Yes.
Raj, you went 1-4, hitting on Jacoby Brissett in the love, missing out on Bryce Young and Chig Okonkwo, and also missing out on the hate, although very, very slightly on Sam Darnold and also on Daniel Jones. And then to end it off, I also missed out on both my loves, Romo Dunze and Jameson Williams. Jameson Williams had 3 targets for 0 yards. Where did that come from?
Cordell
Who
Flott.
who would have thought that stat line would have been possible after the last few weeks? And I think DJ Moore stole all of Odunze's work that I
Don't
predicted.
remind me.
So,
Oh my god!
I dropped DJ Moore last.
Yeah,
But you don't know like who's it going to be from one week or another. It's very frustrating. It's extremely frustrating.
Very good word, actually, frustrating. Missed out on Khalil Shakir, hate. Caught that long bomb that I think would have gone a long way from being that making that a winner, but did hit on the hate of Ricky Pearsall and Kyle Pitts Jr. So those were our love-hate for Week 12. So we want to put that Week 12 in the rearview mirror. So let's dive right into our Week 13 love-hate picks. I'll get things started with my breakdown of the quarterbacks. Then Fab will roll through the running backs, and Raj will finish it off with the wide receiver insight. After that, we'll spotlight 3 tight ends who deserve your attention, whether they're trending up or flashing red flags heading into this week's matchup. And for the first time, ladies and gentlemen, since week 4, we've got 0 buys. So outside of injuries, your whole entire roster is in play. So without further ado, let's kick things off with the quarterbacks. So 2 guys I love this week is going to be Cam Ward and Tyler Shough.
Yes.
Wow.
I love the Cam Ward one.
Yes.
Awesome
Cam Ward, QB 24 versus the Jaguars. So it took some time, but Cam Ward had his first breakout performance of 2025. Over 250 yards passing and a touchdown while also running for 37 yards and a TD for a solid 25-point stat line. So that was versus a very tough Seattle defense, and he gets a Jags defense this week that's been extremely generous to the QBs lately. Take away week 11 versus the Chargers, and they've given up 32, 31, and 30 points to Matthew Stafford, Geno Smith, and Davis Mills, respectively, from week 7 to 10. So while also surrounding 20 points to Jacoby Brissett last week, I'm riding the hot hand on this one and putting my faith in the number 1 overall pick.
The ball knowers know that Cam Ward has been quite good. Like if you just looked at his stats, like you'd be like, he's been awful. But
but you can't just look at stats.
That Titans team is just no good.
Because the team's no good, despite the fact I talked up Chimere Dike. But he's not working with much there, and he's looked really good the last few weeks. So I love that call.
And then I have Tyler Shough, QB 20 at the Dolphins. So he's shown flashes, but he's not necessarily turned into fantasy production. And take away the week 10, he's averaging about 8.5 fantasy points per game, so not great. But that all changes this week as he gets a great matchup versus a Dolphins team that gives up solid numbers to opposing QBs. They've given up 7 passing touchdowns and an average of 23 fantasy points to QBs over the last 3 weeks. So I like Shough to put up some very solid numbers on Sunday. And I like both these guys over the likes of Tyrod Taylor, Kirk Cousins, Bryce Young, and even Tua this week.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I agree with those calls. Yep.
Agreed.
Now moving along to my hates of the week. So first hate of the week is going to be Mr. Shedeur Sanders and Daniel Jones.
Oh, spicy.
Yes, another little spicy one to end it off here. But the first one's going to be Shedeur Sanders. He is ranked QB 28 versus the 49ers, but take away Monday night last week, and the 49ers have allowed QBs to put up 29, 31, and 26 points over the past 3 weeks. However, that was to Jackson Dart, who was a top 5 option before his injury, Matthew Stafford, who is the QB2, and Jacoby Brissett, who is the QB4 over the last 4 weeks. So I'm not getting caught up in the hype. Despite some nice throws, he made a couple of nice throws. He still only completed 55% of his passes, only 1 TD, and his defense helped him out mightily with 10 sacks. I will give him credit though. He was the first Browns QB to win in his debut. In the previous
nice.
17 were unsuccessful, so I'll give him some flowers. But with playoff implications on the line, I'm not buying the hype. I would stay away from him this week. I'll take Stroud or Mills and even Kirk Cousins over Shedeur this week.
Well, on the bright side, he finally got some first team reps, so I think we can finally put that to bed, right?
Yeah.
I mean, jokes aside, yeah. I mean, I don't think anyone's going to be starting Shedeur Sanders, nor should they. I mean, I think like eight of his 12 points came from that swing pass there to Dylan Sampson, who took it to the house, which was again another pass behind the line of scrimmage, which is sort of what Shedeur Sanders is kind of known for. So just keep that in mind. Although he's very accurate, he doesn't really push the ball downfield all that much, despite that one nice pass to Isaiah Bond.
That was a very nice one.
Yes.
It was a very nice one.
He had a couple nice throws.
I think it's growing pains, right? Like from a real QB standpoint, I think it's just growing pains. But no, I agree with both of these calls. Daniel Jones, too, going up against a very tough Houston defense. They've been playing lights out. Everyone talks about it. It's very true. It's keeping them in ball games. And you know what? With Davis Mills as their quarterback, they're 3-0 right now in the last 3 games, right? So
quarterback controversy.
Is it a soft benching? We've seen a few of those already. I don't think so. I don't think it is. I think, Nacc, we spoke about this a little bit. Concussions are all non-linear. It's not surprising necessarily that CJ Stroud's out for more than 2 games, but still.
Right. And then secondly, Daniel Jones versus the Texans. So he's come a little bit back down to earth since being in the MVP conversation early on in the season. He had a total of 3 interceptions through the first 8 weeks of the season, and now has 4 over the past 3 games to go along with 3 lost fumbles. He's had issues throughout his career with turnovers, like we saw with the Giants. And they're coming at the wrong time. So don't look now, but he faces a Texans D that has kept QBs to on average 12 fantasy points over the last 3 weeks, while having they've had 3 INTs and 2 forced fumbles in that span in the last 3 weeks. So I would definitely look at other options. I would go like Dart or Winston, whoever starts there, and even Trevor Lawrence over Daniel Jones this week.
That Houston defense made Josh Allen look like a fool.
It's mad.
Which they always
insane.
do. They always play well against Josh Allen. But yeah, I agree. It's and if you look at kind of the ancillary pass catchers for all the pass catchers for the Colts, there's been a clear kind of correlation between Daniel Jones and the fact that it's really only been Alec Pierce who's kind of been consistent. Otherwise, it's been a different player every week for them.
I agree.
Yeah. That'll do it for the QBs. Raj, why don't we keep this train rolling with the running backs?
Yes, the 2 running backs I love. I'm actually going to do a 2-for-1 special. I'm going to go with Jalen Warren at RB10 and Kenny Gainwell at RB28, both versus Buffalo. So last week, the Bears with no Aaron Rodgers, Gainwell had 10 carries for 92 yards, as you alluded to, Nacc, previously. Gainwell also chipped in for 6 catches and 30 yards, and he even started the game and had 2 of the 3 goal line touches, 6 of 8 third down snaps, and he was in every 2-minute drill snap. So you factor that in, Warren still was able to go 18 for 68 with a touchdown. They both finished with 18 and 13 points respectively, and we know how much Arthur Smith loves his running back timeshares. And obviously, it's been well documented. The Bills have allowed the 3rd most fantasy points to running backs this season. I foresee both running backs being heavily used in what amounts to a perfect timeshare. Start them over the likes of Kenny Walker, Woody Marks, and even Rico Dowdle versus a very, very strong Rams defense.
Wow, both over Rico Dowdle.
Wow,
those are my loves. Yeah. I'm not calling one or the other. I would start both of them. If I have both of them, I would start both of them this week.
As Sterling Shepard would say, both. BOAF, both of them. Both of them.
Kenny Gainwell is a really good player. He is
very underrated. He's more athletic than I really.
He's more athletic.
He's
was stronger, and I think that's a guy that I get the Eagles had to get rid of, but I think they would have liked to still have him. I would think.
Is Aaron Rodgers back this week?
Supposedly,
it's supposedly back this week, but it's not yet been confirmed.
Okay. No, I just because again, if he's not back, I think this just further really props up both of these guys. Yeah,
that was my thinking as well.
Yeah.
In terms of the two running backs I hate this week, I have Javonte Williams, RB16 at the home of the Chiefs, and DeAndre Swift, running back 23 at the Eagles on Black Friday, where Nacc, I believe you will be live.
I will be live.
From Lincoln Financial Field. So
Lincoln,
Javonte Williams,
Link.
RB16. The Chiefs continue to boast one of the better fantasy defense against running backs in the league. They just held Jonathan Taylor to 50 yards and 0 touchdowns. They've given up 5 touchdowns on the season. We know Javonte is a virtual 0 in the pass game, and he hasn't scored any type of TD since week 8. In fact, Dak Prescott is second in the league in touchdowns inside the 20. So this will be a tough spot for Jay Will on US Thanksgiving to get into the end zone. I obviously like Warren and Gainwell over him, as I mentioned. And DeAndre Swift at RB23 against the Eagles. Swift is in a clear hot hand timeshare with Kyle Monangai. I think the way the Bears are rolling it is both guys get opportunities early on, and then whoever has the hot hand gets the majority of the carries. And lately, that's been Monangai. We know the Eagles have been middle of the pack defensively against running backs. The issue is that Swift has had his lowest snap share of the season at 45% in week 12. He was outrushed 8-12 versus Monangai. To add on, Monangai has had a 60% rush share inside the 15-yard line.
Yeah.
20 points.
Yeah, it's huge.
Monangai has had 20 points inside the 15 compared to Swift's 7 over the last 5 weeks. So I really like Monangai over Swift and in this spot. And in terms of if you look at Fantasy Pros consensus ranking, Monangai again, Swift's at 23. I would start the likes of Tyron Tracy, Omarion Hampton is supposed to be back. Maybe do wait and see on that front. Bashal Tutin has a really good matchup, even though he's also kind of in a hot hand approach, or Etienne is mostly the guy there. Zach Charbonnet typically falls into the end zone, even though he doesn't get the majority of the carries. So I think it'll be a tough spot for Swift. And I hope if you're a Swift owner, you sold him a while ago.
When stock was high,
Yeah.
I like it. Thank you for the running backs, Raj. And take us home, Fabio, with the wide receivers.
Let's go. Wide receiver time. Let's go. Happy pass catchers. Let's go. So I got 2 loves like everybody else does. I got Andre Yosivas. And I got Troy Franklin. So those are both my loves this week. Andre Yosivas versus Baltimore, Troy Franklin versus Washington. Roger, you touched on Troy Franklin earlier. Andre Yosivas, this is the Burrow back Higgins out bump. Like last week, the Romanian Rocket put up a decent 10.5 points. So quality numbers. He's half Romanian and half Hawaiian, and he was born in Japan. Fun fact.
Wow.
Yeah. Listen, Wikipedia. So quality numbers, and you can expect it even bigger numbers this week. And if we turn back to 2024, Yosivas was averaging about 14 points per game when filling in for duties for T. Higgins, who was injured for quite a few games in 2025. That's wide receiver 15 in 2025. So he's a strong start, in my opinion. You have to figure he'll draw a lot of single coverage if Baltimore try and take Chase out. And he's a big body receiver, great red zone threat too. He's ranked as wide receiver 42 on Fantasy Pros, but for me, he's a top 25 play this week. There's a lot of upside I like there for him.
Love it. And I think one of the things you end up realizing, Yoshavas seems like a better play when he's replacing T. Higgins versus when he's replacing Jamar Chase.
I not bad last week.
Yeah, but like I expected more, but I like from last year, because of the size, he's like the kind of like go ball type guy, like go get the ball, throw it up to him.
Yeah. Mind you, we talk about last year when Baltimore faced Cincinnati and Jamar Chase put up, I think, like 145 yards or some ridiculous stat line, like 250 yards and 3 touchdowns for like 60 fantasy points. I'm not going to say it's going to happen again, but I still like Andre Yosivas this week quite a bit.
Joe Burr is back.
Joe Burr is back. It's a nice story. I'm happy to see him back, honestly. I'm happy that
it's a little too late for me.
Yeah, that's okay. Some people that have him on their team, he was on IR this whole time. Maybe they're still making the playoffs.
4 out of 5 leagues I had Joe Burrow.
Yeah. I have him in 1 out of 3, and like I'm 6-6 in that one, so he's coming back at a very good time. Anyways, so I got Troy Franklin as my second love. So Raj, you hit on that a little bit. This is already a great matchup versus a very porous pass defense. Washington give up the 3rd most fantasy points to wide receivers, and Troy draws cornerback Benjamin St-Juste, one of the most targeted cornerbacks in the league. Troy has not only out-targeted Sutton 34-26 in the last 4 games, he's been a huge red zone threat too, with 13 versus 5 red zone targets. So Troy has also scored 4 in the last 5 games. He's wide receiver 26 on Fantasy Pros for Week 13. He's a legit must-start for me in practically all formats, I think, and a great matchup versus Washington. There's a lot of guys that are ranked before him that I much prefer Troy Franklin over, like Michael Pittman Jr. I'll get into that in a second. Even Jameson Williams, you got to consider right now, like Troy Franklin, like after that goose egg that Jameson Williams put up in the matchup he has versus Green Bay, I think I'm starting Troy Franklin over him.
I watched J-Mo get 3 touchdowns on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? I put it into universe and it's gonna come back at me like usual. It's fine.
I have a question, and I hope I won't be spoiling one of your hates. But would you start both of them over Jay Jettis, Justin Jefferson?
You know what? Jay Jettis is not one of my hates, but he's been popping up a lot on my Twitter timeline about how a lot of guys are starting like Troy Franklin over Jettis. That's actually a very good like start sit conversation. I'll tell you this thing, okay? We know JJ McCarthy is not playing. I have more faith in the undrafted free agent that they have right now, which is Broman or whatever his name is, to actually funnel all of the targets to Jay Jettis, to Justin Jefferson, versus anybody else. So I'm not
bad.
I'm not at that point right now with Justin Jefferson, and it's hard for anyone to be that way. And it's one of those things that I'll be okay like if I miss the call this week, because you got to give Justin Jefferson some respect. But it is a lot closer than people realize. And we are in week 13 in 2025, and we're having legitimate conversations about benching Justin Jefferson for Troy Franklin.
That's crazy.
This is my 9. This is my 9 imitation.
He's got such a juicy, like, besides this week, he's got Seattle, but then they have Washington, Dallas, and the Giants. Like,
yeah, man.
He's got such a juicy schedule, and it's just, bro, he hasn't hit 70. Last time he hit at 74 yards was back in week 8.
Yep.
He has 2 touchdowns on the year.
Addison for sure, and I had to learn the hard way.
Addison
is
for
a
sure.
Must bench.
Addison for sure is a must bench. It's unfortunate because he came back really strong in the first few games, but Addison had a much bench. Actually, sorry, the conversation I was reading online, and this is a legitimate conversation, is starting Wandel Robinson over Justin Jefferson.
Well, they have the same stats this year.
They have the exact same stats right now.
What is
and you kind of have to be like, yeah, you know what? I would start Wandel versus Jefferson. Like
what's Franklin's consensus ranking?
26.
Jefferson's 19.
Jefferson's 19.
Ugh.
Yeah. Like, would you start Michael Wilson over Justin Jefferson?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. 100%.
And another guy, too, that we got to start fanning the flames on a little bit. No one's talking about all that much. Emeka Egbuka, or as Gronk likes to call him, Oguku. He's been having
one extra touchdown. Then
he's been having a very rough. They've been putting him too much on the outside, I think, in my opinion, ever since Chris Godwin came back. Small sample size, but still. And if you look at his splits before, he was much more even on the outside in the slot when he was really doing well, when he was really blowing up. I think it's gonna hinder his production.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think more so like with the Mike Evans than Godwin per se. But I actually thought, you know what? Who I thought you were gonna say? I thought you were gonna say Zay Flowers.
Zay Flowers hasn't scored a touchdown since week 1.
I haven't heard about Zay Flowers.
He hasn't scored a touchdown since week 1. Did he score a touchdown last week? No, huh?
It's been since week 1. He hasn't.
It's been since week 1. Yeah, but even Lamar Jackson's dealing with another injury now. Apparently, that came up during last practice week. Like that, Baltimore's just a dumpster fire
today, all day.
He practiced all day.
I don't understand how Yahoo has Zay Flowers projected points 17, and he hasn't hit that number since week 1 when he had 28.
Right. Even
Yahoo's projected points are completely ridiculous.
But it's just like where do they get
that's
that?
what we do base love hate off that.
Yeah, I know.
But it's just where do they get those? Like Zay Flowers projected 17, but Devontae Adams only 15.
Well, Romeo Dobbs is projected for 13 fantasy points. He hasn't hit that since like week 6.
Yeah, I don't know where these predictions.
Week 9.
It's kind of out of whack.
Anyway, so those are my 2 loves: Andre Iosivas, the Romanian Rocket, and Troy Franklin, the Turtle. So we're going to move on to my hates right now. So again, piggybacking a little bit off you there, Nacc. I got Michael Pittman Jr. versus Houston, and I got Deebo Samuel versus Denver. So Michael Pittman Jr. MPJ draws Derek Singletary Jr. We all know who he is. He's playing like a boss, allowing for the lowest completion percentage for cornerbacks at 49.1%. Texans are very good at defending the pass and typically play a cloud coverage on the boundary over the X receiver. Pittman runs about 80% of his routes on the outside, which will most likely limit his production this week. Houston allowed the fourth fewest fantasy points to wide receivers, but they're especially good on the outside versus X-type wide receivers. This is actually can be a low-key decent game for Josh Downs.
Josh Downs.
Yeah, low-key, but I'm not saying start him, but think about it. He's wide receiver 23 this week, but I hate the matchup for Michael Pittman Jr. I think he struggles mightily. And obviously, I would start the two guys that I just mentioned ahead of him without a doubt. And there's a lot of other guys, too, that have much more attractive matchups that I would rather throw a dart at, like Juwan Jennings, even Cortland Sutton, honestly. I think I would start him over Michael Pittman Jr.
There's a lot of guys like Parker Washington. I'm surprised how low Parker Washington is at wide receiver 39 consensus. I have a feeling Ricky Purcell is going to come up at some point. Like he had the late season breakout too, but maybe not against Cleveland. But
I think so too. I think the first two games of the season he played very well.
Yes,
very very well. That has to repeat itself. I'm not counting him out at all. And he one of the interceptions that Brock Purdy threw last night, it was targeting Purcell in the end zone. So the badly thrown ball, but it's going to come. My second hate is Deebo Samuel versus Denver. So another tough matchup and a tough draw. So Patrick Surtain, the second, is slated to come back this week, but it's not yet confirmed. Even so, Denver's cornerbacks have stepped up really stepped up for the former defensive player of the year, and they've been excellent. Rookie Chris Abrams-Driane and Riley Moss have really shut down a lot of solid wide receivers since week 9, and Denver D really hasn't missed a beat. I expect Mariota to be under constant pressure all game. Denver do lead the league in sacks after all. I think it's going to make it very difficult to get Deebo the ball in decent space. He's ranked as wide receiver 31, so he's wide receiver 3 territory. But honestly, he's a straight bench for me. If I have other options out there that I like a lot more with the matchup, like I would start Jacoby Myers over him. I would actually start Darnell Mooney over Deebo Samuel because he does have that connection.
If London's out, I would, yeah.
So
yeah, it's not confirmed, that London's out yet.
No,
I think they say it was going to be week to week.
Exactly. Yeah, but even that, like Kirk Cousins, for whatever reason, last year when he was playing decently well, like he was getting he was peppering London with a lot of targets. With Darnell Mooney with a lot of targets. Like there was a conversation about who's the number one wide receiver on that team at some point. Like
he had a good year last year.
He had a great year. Yeah,
very good year last year.
He had a great year last year.
Very good year. Thank you for those wide receivers, Fab. Why don't you quickly give us a tight end you love or hate this week?
So we're going to double dip on the Cincinnati Bengals because it's a great matchup versus Baltimore. We're going to go with Mike Gesicki versus Baltimore. So again, another no Higgins bump. This is another situation where when T is out, Gesicki usage skyrockets. So just quickly, I'll run through some stats just because I know how much everyone loves to hear me talk about numbers. So without Higgins, he targets about 7.2 targets per game versus 3.2. That's he gets about 13.8 fantasy points per game versus 5.8. Target share is 19% versus about 9. And he more than doubles his yards per game at 62 versus 28. So like you're talking about a very good floor. You're talking about very good usage, great target share. And he's averaging 14 points per game. That's like wide receiver 2 numbers. So yeah, you know what? Fire up Mike Gesicki this week. Baltimore, although they're stingy versus tight ends and they give up the 7th lead fantasy points to them, he's tight end 21. He's probably on the waiver and an easy stream this week that should really turn back some decent tight end 1 numbers. I would start him with confidence.
Interesting.
My only concern with that, he's super inconsistent. Like, and if he's consensus 23, do you not think like a Dalton Schultz could be available? Like Colston Loveland, AJ Barner, maybe trying him again.
No, I wouldn't try AJ Barner. For me, that experiment is over. It's a little bit too hard to figure out the consistency. One thing that I'm just basically banking this on is really you've seen the history of when Higgins is not there, what it does to Mike Gesicki.
Yeah.
That's why, like, for me, like, the target share is huge. It's over double target share.
Yes.
Like, Burrow looks for him. So
I think it's a good call. I do think it's a good call. It's more so it's very risky considering the inconsistency, but I think your stats bear fruit to, like, it could be a nice boom for sure.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it is not an easy matchup. Baltimore are pretty good against tight ends, but at the same time, anything can happen in fantasy football. So have fun with it, guys. Put him in your lineup,
Yep.
and then thank me later when he pops.
You could win a week with 126 points, and you could lose with 198 points. Thank you, Fab, for the tight end. Rog, why don't you give us a tight end you love or hate this week?
We are piling on the Colts. I hate my boy, who I own quite a bit of, Tyler Warren. Tight end 5 versus Houston. So Warren gets a date. He gets a date with the top 3 defense in Houston, Texas. He's been quite quiet compared to his early season surge. 3 out of the last 4 games under 10 fantasy points. And the Texans have allowed the 6th fewest fantasy points to tight ends in 2025. I personally have him in a lot of leagues, but I'm tempering my expectations. But if you happen to either own another tight end, or you have in your free agency there's Dalton Schultz or Theo Johnson available, I would strongly consider those options instead. I think he's heavily tethered to how Daniel Jones will play, and I think Daniel Jones is going to have a really tough matchup and a tough game against Houston.
I like this spicy take. I like it. I'll take us home here with another love. I love Brenton Strange, tight end 16 at the Titans. So might not be the greatest matchup on paper with the Titans giving up the 10th fewest points to the tight end, but he has become one of Lawrence's go-to guys when he is on the field. So he returned from a 5-game absence and secured all of his 5 targets for 93 yards. And with the BTJ still banged up and questionable to play, I think Strange could once again see an upstick in targets and turn in another great fantasy day. And I like him over Dalton Schultz and even the aforementioned Kyle Pitts, who's actually consensus tight end 11, which I'm still like, I'm still trying to figure out these rankings sometimes. Tight end 11.
He had 3 drops. He had like 3 drops. He's terrible.
Yeah, he hasn't
scored more than 6 points since week 8.
Yeah, it's just really, really, really bad. And I think I mentioned it last week. I'm just done. I'm done trying to cover it up and trying to be on his side. There's really nothing. There's nothing. There's nothing to grasp at. He's just a bad football player.
He's playing like a bad football player, if that makes any sense. I still think he has talent. I just think he's in the wrong environment.
I don't know. He's had a lot of chances, but
well, I mean, he's had 4 years with the same team, and the team has been dysfunctional, and now they're even talking about resetting at the QB position. Did you guys hear about that?
Yeah, I saw that today.
Yeah, like that.
It's not a reset. It's not a reset. It's that Michael Penix won't be ready. Likely won't be ready.
Yeah, sorry, that's correct.
So they're going to need a bridge QB.
And it'll be his 3rd ACL surgery. So who knows when he comes back from that. He's a bit older too, right? He wasn't the 21-year-old quarterback. So
that's correct. He was a little bit older. You're right. Yeah.
That'll do it, ladies and gentlemen, for another edition of the Bush League Huddle Fantasy Football Podcast. I think I speak for all 3 of us when I say I really hope we do much better in Week 13, but I really feel confident about these picks. So stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks once again for listening, and have a good night.
From your lips to God's ears, brother.
Dude, we went 3-12. It's gonna take a lot for us to do worse.
It's gonna take a lot. Worse. Definitely can't get much worse.
You can only go up from here.
Trust. You gotta trust.
Big trust.
Trust Shakir.
You gotta.
Yeah, shout out, man. That guy called Shakir perfect on that, man. He got every single route right on the flat. That was good. Shout out to whatever your name is there on TikTok. Keep on listening. Thank you.
Goodbye, everyone.
Peace out, everyone.
Goodbye.